Good morning, Year 10. This video is being made specifically for pupils at Lodge Park Academy in Year 10 who just finished their AP3 assessments. I'm sorry if you hear any background noise while in this video. I'm actually sat in a cafe in London, probably looking a little bit weird, but I need to make sure that you know how to work properly in your redraft lesson. So I'm going to quickly go through the questions that you've done and explain what you can do to improve in your redraft. Now, firstly, the most important thing is that a lot of people have listed the types of propaganda that you can see in Nazi Germany. But if I read my question carefully, it doesn't say to list the types of propaganda that were used in Nazi Germany. It says to describe them. So what I need is 4 sentences, complete sentences, not a list, that says the 4 different types of propaganda you're going to talk about, excuse me, and then give an example of how it's used. So a lot of people talked about radio, which was a good thing to do, but you didn't explain what was on the radio. A lot of people talked about rallies, but they didn't explain the purpose of the rallies. And so in your redraft, if I suggested you to go back to your 4-mark question, that's what you need to do and go over. No more than 4 sentences, please. Remember, it is only 4 marks. So the second question, I forgot to put on here, but it is a 6-mark question. Explain why the Nazis became increasingly popular between 1929 and 1932. Now, a lot of people ignored this last date and they wrote about the Reichstag fire in their answer. Now, the Reichstag fire happened in 1933, just before the election, and so it's not included in this answer. So you need to go back and have a look at other events that took place between 1929 and 1932. A lot of people, especially in 10.1 HI3, looked at this date in particular and realised it was the Wall Street crash that we were talking about. When you get a 6-mark question like this, it will give you 2 dates. If it does, it's giving you a clue. So use your chronological knowledge, go back to your timelines and think, what happened in 1929? What is it that they want me to talk about? And so those people who did looked at the Wall Street crash and had a point evidence explain judgment and link paragraph explaining what impact the Wall Street crash had on Nazi Germany. If you miss this, this is your focus for your redraft. A lot of people need to get their 6-mark questions under their belt before they can move on. And also think about the election results and what else was going on in 1932. I know that you were talking about the spread of communism when you're talking about the Reichstag fire, but the Reichstag fire is 1933, but the threat of communism did start before that, so maybe you want to rework that paragraph to make it about the question. I don't want to spend too long on this big 10-mark question because I think that, well, firstly, it's the first time that you've done a timed assessment with this many questions all at once, and so I don't want to overwhelm you. And secondly, I think that the majority of papers that I've answered need to get their 4- and 6-mark questions right before we can even start to look at our 10-mark questions. But this is it's an essay question giving you an option. So terror was the most effective method used by the Nazis to control German people. How far do you agree with this statement? The majority of people just said that they agreed with the statement. That's okay. You can believe that the terror was the most effective method for the Nazis in their control, but really there's another side to the argument that the examiner wants you to explain. So in your redraft, if you're one of the few people I've suggested who need to look at their 10-mark question, go back, have a look and see, is there another side to the story? One thing to watch in this answer is that you need to make sure that your writing is formal. I see a lot of people saying couldn't instead of could not, didn't instead of did not. I remember in the lesson when I was talking about the terror versus the enticement and propaganda and everything good that happened in Nazi Germany, I used the analogy of the carrot and the stick. You can't use that in your answer. That's just me doing something daft to explain something to you. It's not formal writing, so you can't use it in your essay answers. So a couple of things just to consider. I've given you a couple of what went well and even better ifs that are true for everybody. So things that went well. A lot of people talked about the weaknesses of the Weimar Republic in their 6-mark answer. That is spot on. And a lot of people in my class, 10.01 HI1, started to link to the disillusionment with democracy and how people in Germany thought the democracy and the Weimar Republic were weak because of all the things that happened, which is brilliant. Keep that up. Some people mentioned economic downturn. Most people have called it the Wall Street crash. Some people have just called it economic downturn. Watch that. But the fact that you've talked about it in 1929 is good. So that shows that you can put your own historical knowledge into context. So well done. A couple of things to be aware of. As I said when we went over the 4-mark question, it says to describe the types of propaganda, not just to list them. I've given people who've done that 2 marks, which is probably me being a little bit too nice, so just watch that one in future. And also there are just too many chronological inaccuracies. If you don't know the build-up to Hitler becoming Chancellor and Hitler's rise to power, you need to go back and you need to learn it because it is essential and we don't have any more time on it. So go back, create a timeline. I'm doing this in interventions. Remember, Thursday morning, Thursday lunchtime and Thursday after school if you need to catch this up. And also, if you look at my video about how to structure an essay, which should be appearing on here any day now, then you'll see that I've put a timeline on there to help you. Please go and have a look at that in your spare time. Okay. Good luck with your redrafts. You've got this lesson, so use your time wisely. I will be checking to see that your redrafts are written in your books and that your assessments are stuck in. Okay, have a good lesson. Bye.